we are going to be having some fun, spreading some positivity, and letting people know how they can start their new year. But I believe we're also still going to be talking about reducing stress. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. It's Kickstart. My name is Gardy. I have Dr. Aaron Chapa in studio. I have Jennifer Withy in studio. They're with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. Good morning, guys. How y'all doing?
Fantastic.
I'm amazing this morning. I've had a great morning. Been in the Word. Had a nice walk around the block, and it's not so cold right now, so that's kind of nice.
But it is windy.
It was a little windy, but
in a weird,
okay.
kind of a nice wintry type of way. But it wasn't so wintry that it was like you need several layers of clothes. So I'm really thankful about that. If just to throw that out there.
Sometimes the wind just gets a little eerie to me. Like it's too much. Like I'm trying to open my car door and it like slams it back, and I'm like, "Is somebody? What's going on?" And then I know it. It's the wind.
We actually had a car door push open one year when the wind was really bad like that, and it pushed open so bad that it hyperextended and had to be fixed and go into the shop. It was terrible.
So those were really bad days.
That was a windy day.
Yeah.
So today wasn't much of a windy day, and my dog was not too disappointed. And so when it gets really windy, her ears like fly back.
Oh my gosh! So. Yeah, Dr. Chapa. So last week we had some fun. We had Jennifer and we had Molly. But we had no Dr. Chapa, and I was like, "Where's Chapa? Tell me where he is." And they wouldn't release your location.
I know.
But I hope you had a Merry Christmas.
I did. I had a great Merry Christmas. I was very thankful that the ladies stepped in and allowed me an opportunity to step off the mic for a moment. And but yeah, Merry Christmas. Had a fantastic time with kids and family. Even left the old cell phone at home on New Year's Eve and or Christmas Eve and. Probably, I'm thinking I might do it again too. I don't know if it sounds like it. And it was really interesting, like to let go of the phone. And it is such, talking about stress and how to downplay stress. It is amazing how stressful this little device is. Mm-hmm. I call it an electronic leash because. You have, heaven forbid, you don't have access to it for 2 or 3 hours, And as a matter of fact, I drove out the driveway, got halfway down the street, and saw that my Bluetooth wasn't connected on my dashboard, and I go, "Oops, stupid electronic leash," and I had to turn my hiney around and go back home and get the dang thing,
Yeah.
And because I know I'm not going to be back till 1 o'clock, so heaven forbid, I go 5 or 6 hours without the phone. And it's just this weird stressor that we tote around voluntarily. I think this might actually be the mark of the beast. People are worried about microchips, but we voluntarily carry this thing around, and we stress out over this thing constantly.
Yeah, I've heard some people, so like the drones and like, they could be recording and third party and all this stuff. And I was talking to one of my coworkers about that. And then someone else was like, but we also carry this around with the camera and like every bit of technology in here. And they update them every year and they push these software updates to your phone. We also carry this around and are fine with it. So drones are okay with me, I guess.
Yeah.
We use them.
The thing is that if you're going to live in a way that you don't want to be seen, you're going to have problems anyway. So they're going to find you out, right? God is on our tail all the time. So he watches out for us, knows what we're doing and what we're up to. And it's just now we have the ability to track people and the ability to be tracked and the ability to keep up with the crazy.
Maybe it's always been there, but now it's just so like out there. You know what I mean? But because I was just reading in the scriptures this morning that where can I go that the Lord can't find me? Nowhere. And and I find comfort in it. But the same idea that technology, like they have these little devices now that you can plug on your key ring or on your phone or even in your wallet that will chime and ring. And all you got to do is access one. If you can't find your wallet, but you can find your keys, you can find your phone. You can find your phone via your keys or your wallet. As long as you have one of those three contraptions, it'll like sing off this loud noise.
You just need one.
You just need one.
If we keep it up, we won't have to think at all anymore.
And see, and there's where I get nervous. So when we talk about how to decrease stress, when we disengage our thinking brain, we can almost guarantee stress is going to go through the roof.
I was going to say, man, that'd be nice. I don't even have to use my brain anymore, and I just like go through the motions.
Let's just not be human at all anymore.
That's right.
We'll just be the robots that they've been portraying on the movies for the
yeah.
last 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Your sign says it behind you. If the dude don't move, the dude don't groove, right?
Dude don't groove.
If you don't use it, you lose it. And so if we don't learn to engage the thinking brain, man, it's trouble. It's trouble. And definitely one of the key ways to make sure that stress isn't in what we call the primal, anxious, overwhelm, fight or flight response is to get thinking again. Ask yourself questions. How do I want to feel? How am I feeling? Am I willing to sit with the stuff I'm going through right now? Like if you've, really struggling with depression, or if you're just struggling with anger, if you're struggling with anxiety, it's our tendency to run from it. It's our tendency to fight a way to get it out of its grip. But sometimes it's important to just realize, man, sit with it. Like, what do you want? Anxiety, what do you want? Depression, like why you want to make me feel like that? And you start asking it questions, and you find that you actually kind of get bored with it after about 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you start being able to find a solution on how to, all right, well, now I have to decide, am I going to sit here and wallow around in this? Or am I going to get off my hiney and go for a walk, change my space? Am I going to, leverage some of the tools that I've learned from living well, like adaptogenic Mintran Nevaton, or maybe rub some peppermint on your forehead, or, go get some hot tea, or, do something to change your space.
The funny thing is that I think people want to live there, right? Like when you're feeling blue, you don't always want somebody to
fix it.
Yeah.
Fix it, right? Like people come along and they want to encourage you.
Though?
It happens when you're a little kid. It starts from there, because I've talked to my son before, and I'm like, okay, no one's mad at you. You're not in trouble, or my daughter, and it's like, it's okay. You don't have to be sad at all or anymore. There was no reason to, but you almost enjoy being in that state. Feel sorry for me, maybe, or I don't know. I think it's learned at a very young age.
It's a way to get a little bit of attention, right? And sometimes people don't think they want the attention, but maybe they do.
Yeah.
And so they kind of go in this, I don't really want to. It's too hard to be better, and we just start listing our excuses. Dude, I don't have any adaptogenic Mintran Nevaton. You go, okay, well then, do you have peppermint oil? No, I don't have any peppermint oil. Like, well, do you have any tea? I don't have any tea.
Well, then you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah,
yeah. You're welcome.
I know what you do have. You can go take a cold shower.
I told my wife the other day, because I asked you, Chapa, I was like, do you ever like passive aggressively? And something happened. I told my wife, I was like, you need some adaptogenic Nevaton, and she was like, what's that? I was like, never mind.
Only if you knew.
Apparently, you don't listen to the show.
I know,
Tuesday
not
morning.
enough. If you're not tuned in now, maybe she is. That always happens. But I just thought it was funny because I used that. And it made me laugh because I was a little flustered. I don't even remember what it was. Nothing. I was like, you need some adaptogenic Nevaton, and then I was just like, kind of laughed, and then it was over. Just a little joke to myself.
That's the reality. Is are you willing to let somebody speak into your life? Like, do you trust the people around you to let them speak into your life and say, hey, you're not in a great space right now, and hey, I can help you if you let me in. But a lot of times,
because what's the value
the walls.
of staying in there, really, right?
Right.
Like you said, there's no value. But like Jennifer and I were talking just the other day, it's like we focus as a whole, as a community, too much on like the negative stuff going on in our life instead of like really appreciating the blessings we have every which way around us. And when we freak out over, sitting with some of those negative thoughts, we have to remember, like, our very, very, very best day that we could possibly imagine. And every one of us has, one. I mean, the days my kids were born, those were like, they're imprinted on my cortex, like I'm not going to ever forget the imagery that, I can pull up emotion through this. Thought of how powerful these images are in my head. Just recently had a parental moment where we surprised my girls with a new dog, and best parental experience of my, parental life so far. Just outstanding. But even at that best experience holds nothing with One Day with Jesus. And why don't we look to the good things that we have and look forward to things to come, as opposed to live in the past and regret and all of our shortcomings and failures. And and sometimes I wonder if we do that because we don't have a solution on how to move forward.
Well, I think we fail to plan. I was reading this morning, and this was a quote from Andy Stanley. He says, "I've concluded that while nobody plans to mess up their life, the problem is that few of us plan not to." Right? So how many times do we take those opportunities to plan an event? You put a lot of effort into planning that event with the dog and keeping it a surprise and the whole 9 yards, and how's this all gonna play out and go down? And I mean, I think we've all had some of those days. I surprised my husband years and years ago, 15 years ago now, with a new car. And it was just it was the best thing ever. We went to a restaurant, and I told him, so we were going for his quote birthday dinner, and we're there, and I had the guy from the dealership come in to the restaurant and say, "Does anybody have a little Nissan Sentra or whatever?"
Your lights are on.
I'm
You're
sorry.
about to be towed.
I just backed into it, and so my husband's like, "It's my birthday. Y'all are trying something, so I'm not going out there." And I was like, "Well, the surprise is about to be blown." So here I go. I'm like, "Well, if you're not going to check on your car, I'm going to go check on your car, right?"
Yeah.
And so he takes the bull and walks out with the salesman, not knowing it's a salesman. And he's walking out the front door, and he says, "Well, what kind of car do you have?" And he was like, "05 Mustang." My husband's like, "My dream car?"
Nice.
And it was so perfect. And as my husband walked around his car to look for the damage,
there's no damage.
There's no damage. He looks at the guy. He's like, "You didn't hit my car." And he handed him the keys.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so it's like we planned that, right? And months of planning went into that. It was
that's
the best story.
Dude,
it was so fun.
I remember the 05s when they changed that body too.
It was. That was the whole deal. He loved the Mustang and he wanted to do it. So anyway, he finally traded in the Mustang. It finally got too old to be worth. But it was one of those great fun days. Things that you do that you just have a blast and you do that. But most of the time we don't plan for those events. What about January? What's your planned event in January, right?
Well, yeah, the good news is 2020 is almost over, so all the stress is going to go away. And then we have 2021, and it's going to be like, COVID's gone, life is back, we can have concerts, and it's going to be amazing, right?
Yeah, let's. What about sign?
You would sign up for that.
Gardy's in charge.
Yeah, Gardy's got this figured out.
Put Gardy
sign right here. Gardy's going to figure it all out.
I'm the new leader.
That's right.
Oh, man, we'd have so much fun, but it'd be really bad. Probably. But it'd be great.
I mean, and so here's a question we can ask our listeners today.
Yeah.
What is your word for 2021? Like, somebody told me yesterday their word. She goes, "Oh, totally know what it is. Hope." I had somebody else. They said purpose. Somebody else said joy, and so what's your word? And because here's the deal: if you don't have something to look forward to, you have a tendency to sit with what you already got, and you might not like it. And that's how you just sit and you wallow around in that misery or that troublesome thought process. And man, one of the best ways that I've found for myself to plan for the new year and to de-stress is through reflection. And my wife came to bed last night, and she's in a clean-out mode, and so we're cleaning out, the years past of accumulated Christmases, and we're getting rid of. She goes, "You want to test all these lights?" I'm like, "No, those are the ones that take up all the electrical energy. We're chunking that stuff.
Yeah,
we've got the state of the art LED.
Oh yeah,
and so we're getting rid of things, which is really fun to get rid of stuff that you've been toting around, and but she starts pulling out pictures of the kids' drawings and all the kids they're just so incredibly gifted and creative, before we kind of screw them up, I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And tell them we don't have time for that.
That's right. And I think that going back and looking at some of those memories helps, you stop and smell the roses and you go, wow, that is what life's about, is to raising children. What a great experience for those of us that have children, starting a new business. What an exciting venture you're about to embark on, if that's something that's coming your way or you've done this year, stepping out in faith, and being able to reflect back. Like Tiffany told me last night, she goes, I found just gobbles of notes from seminars. I didn't throw any of it away, by the way. I was like, thank you. And she goes, you should go read all of your handwritten notes on every page. She goes, I was just, like, I felt like I got to see another piece of you. And I think that you would enjoy seeing you. And then Jennifer tells me yesterday, she goes, I think we need to, reflect on our, something like that.
Well, so this was a play from John Maxwell. So he does this on Christmas Day. He gets all the excitement, the hoopla, the kids and the grandkids opening the presents, and then he kind of retreats on Christmas Day and does a reflection and goes through his calendar of the year and just reflects back and looks for the good and the things that things that went well, things that didn't go well. And anyway, he plans this all out, and he does this on Christmas Day. And so I've kind of used a lot of the last few days to look and reflect. And so he has this, well-written calendar, and here I am. I'm like, dude, I don't know where. I know I went to seminar, but I don't remember what weekend it was, and I don't remember this, and I don't remember that, and so I don't have good notes to go back and look and reflect on what the year looked like. So, and so one of the things I think is valuable in that exercise is that if you want to design a life, right? Design things. One of the things that my goals for this next year is to, we plan what to do with our money. We plan our finances. We talk about it all the time, but all the time of how we're going to, be better stewards of our money and get on a budget and all these good things. But have we ever planned our time and spent some time thinking about, what do I do with my time? How much time am I, quote, wasting?
And that's the most valuable thing. Your time.
It's the only thing you have, really, because the money's going to go. The houses are going to go. Like, if they took it all away from you, all you got left.
Our good looks.
Yeah, they're going to take.
They'll last as long as, as they can, 120. But then after that, our good looks they're going to eventually fade.
Sooner or later.
They will fade. They will change, right?
Yeah.
So when we look at that, and I think, okay, how can I be a better steward of my time? And if I'm going to take another class, or if I'm going to teach my kids, where does that fit? Where is my time for that? And planning it and prioritizing that. And so that's one of my kind of goals for this next year is to kind of like.
Is that your word? You would say time?
No, I think my word for the year, if I had to pick one right now, is consistency. Consistency, because that is what defines whether or not you have time for the things that are really important to you. If you consistently set aside time for church, right? How easy is it to fall away from a habit of going to church?
Mm-hmm. I think it happened to a lot of people this year whenever the churches were forced to be closed, which is crazy to kind of say.
Well, and think about it.
But it happened, yeah. And then just like, man, I skipped, or even I saw it at the gym, or like being sick, not feeling well. I didn't go to the gym for like 3 weeks.
And how hard is it to start?
It's hard to go back and do anything again after you get out of that consistency that you have built.
I heard a story this morning about a guy that says, if I'm going to get on an airplane and fly from here to New York, right? I'm going to fly across the country, and I stop in every state, right? And the next guy gets in the airplane, he just flies straight to New York. He can fly at 200 miles an hour. I can fly at 500 miles an hour. I'm still going to lose because I keep starting and stopping and starting and stopping and starting and stopping. And I think that's where the consistency really comes into the equation. Like, what are you going to do to make sure that the things that are important happen every day? And so you think about a locomotive or the space shuttle, to get that thing off the ground takes a lot of energy. But once the space shuttle's in orbit,
you're there. We're
going. There, and doesn't take as much work to keep things. So things take work to get things started, and people get super excited at the beginning of the year, and they plan. I'm gonna work out 2 hours a day, 7 days a week for the next, for the rest of my life, and it's just not reality, right? So the question is how long is that reality? Make that your goal. Make it a temporary goal, and how am I gonna let that ignite me to do something better in the future, as opposed to I just did it for 21 days. I did it for 10 days. I did it for a month. And that's why people fail on their New Year's resolutions, right? Because they get so excited they set something that's completely unreasonable, and then
But we're told we're supposed to like set the BHAG, the big hairy audacious dream or whatever.
We'll do it, but it doesn't mean so. Like, and that's like
or
with
our big hairy audacious goal, or whatever.
He worked really hard. Like his brain started.
I'm gonna write that. I'm gonna write that down.
I gotta have this word.
Big hairy, and I'll Google this.
But we're told that we have to set this big old thing, and so I mean, are the powers that be that are telling us these things? It's telling us that it's setting us up for failure in a sense.
I mean, I think in some ways it is if you can't be consistent. Because really, where is the compounding effect? Where do you really get results?
I think people
get results until
change your habits, change your life
every day, right?
Yeah.
But we also see other people's results, and we don't know the work and the consistency that has been put in. But we see it because we have these devices, and we see it like, oh man, look, Chapa did this, Chapa did that, but you don't know the team that he has surrounded himself with that has supported him, the work he's put in, the 15 plus years of every day doing what he does.
Work, right.
Yeah, you just see the result.
I think that's the real issue is that we look at something that's off in the distance and we think, oh, well, people want to lose weight. We get this question a lot of times. So when does my Living Well clinical and nutrition program end? And I'm like,
never. It's a lifestyle.
I mean,
it's a lifestyle.
If you think that you can work on your health for the next 6 weeks, and even if you get great results, if you stop, you still stop. You're still going backwards. And so you can't stop. You have to be consistent. So you have to pick things that you can do consistently and make those changes. And so sometimes some people are great at, hey, I'm going to jump off a cliff and, do a 21-day detox, and that'd be my first thing. And some people just aren't, right? So they just have a really hard time. So if you want to have that big, hairy, audacious dream goal for the first part of the year and do your 21-day detox, but the question is, what are you going to do after that to maintain it? You have to maintain it.
And I was looking at one of my notes from 2009 2 nights ago, and one of the things that I had wrote in there was, and I guess it was something that the instructor said, it goes, if 10 years from now you could be a healthier, brighter, more productive, ambitious version of yourself, what do you need to do today and every day after to make sure that 10 years from now you're where you want to be? One of my mentors says we need to set up life in 90-day increments. 90 days for your quote-unquote big, hairy, audacious goal. 60 days from now, what task and things need to be in place to make sure that 90-day hit happens. 30 days from now, what needs to be in place so that the 60-day task are hit, and then what can I do today? So you have 4 quadrants: 90 days, 60 days, 30 days, and today. And if we maybe set the big, hairy, audacious goal, and we have a plan going into the new year, and we recognize that, I set this big thing, but I'm going to live in 90-day increments, recognizing that maybe it's going to take 6 months for my hormones to get balanced out. Or maybe it's going to take, we were talking about a case the other day that it was almost nine months before they started losing weight, but all of a sudden, boom, the weight just fell off of them. And it was because they were so toxic, meaning they were burdened with metals and chemicals and bioaccumulated waste that their body was unable to get rid of, and the body just had been storing that in the brain, disrupting neurological activity. So the brain wasn't even communicating to the rest of the cellular structures well downstream. It was storing these toxins in fat cells, and the fat cells were just swelling up 7 times the size of normal, and new fat cells were coming on the scene in order to help offset some of the toxic burden that the body can't deal with, and the body won't deal with if it can't get it out. So it's just going to I'll store it for a later day. Or the body's storing the stuff in the joints, and the body hurts, and so the person doesn't move as often or as much as they need to be. And so it's like this spiral of decline. Well, by the time they get to us, they're 20, 30 years into that process, and they want us to fix them in 6 weeks. And although we want you to be better in 6 weeks, and a lot of times we see fantastic results in 6 weeks, but it's that maintaining and that consistency over time that then lands the big, hairy, audacious 90-pound goal, because if you lost 90 pounds in 30 days, man, there's probably something really wrong.
You have to check. You have to look into, if you're still just as toxic and you've lost 90 pounds, you're probably in a poorer health state, right? And
Very
so we
possible.
don't want to push that weight loss. And so sometimes people need to be reminded, why do you want to lose weight? And what is your real motivation, right? Because if it's just to lose weight, you're going to
find a why.
You're going to give up.
Like, I want to spend time with my kids, or I want to keep up, or I want to live to be able to spend time with my family, or go to school, or finish my degree.
Yeah, I want to be able to, sometimes it's simple. I remember, we have 5 kids, and I remember at the end with my last one when she was little, my knees hurt so bad. I didn't want to get on the ground and pick up toys anymore. I mean, really, like that's probably the reason she was last, is because I was like, I'm tired of picking up toys on the floor. And when you got little ones, 6 months old, 9 months old, 12 months old,
that's all you're doing.
That's all you're doing
on the floor.
living on the floor, and getting up and down and up and down, up and down. And the fact that my knees don't hurt now, and that as my sweet little grandbaby starts to crawl and get around, that
makes you want to have another one.
Wait. Once you have grandkids,
I love how he just set you up. That was funny.
He did, but it doesn't really matter, because once you have grandkids, like that's like the ultimate. Like you don't have to do all the hard work anymore. You just get to love on them and
oh man, that's true.
Coddle them. And
I was talking to some guys at jiu-jitsu this morning about that, because they were saying like, well, I remember how my mom and my dad, I love them and they're awesome parents. Disciplined me, or like corrected me. And then whenever my son, who is, he's 8 years old, if I correct him or I talk to him and say, let's not, my mom's like, I don't know if you should be, like, come here. It's okay. Just ignore. I'm like,
hello.
What happened? I remember when I was a kid. Where was that? I would have appreciated that a little bit.
There is a little bit to this, as you get older, you might get wiser. So maybe.
Oh, maybe so.
There are some pieces to that puzzle.
But yeah, it's a totally different aspect. It's
wait, I failed so many times with my kids. Like, maybe see if I can.
Well, as a grandparent, you're like, all I got to do is spoil them and do all this. And
that drives me. Personally, that drives me nuts. And I get it, and I know I'm not a grandparent.
Yeah, you'll get there.
And at some point, I'm like, you really think I'm gonna like be giving Twinkies to my grandkids?
Oh, my dad's watching right now. He said being a grandparent is the best. I love it.
And every grandparent says that. And God, that is awesome.
The funny part is that I have a feeling that I'm gonna be introducing my grandkid to vegetables.
Junk food. Oh.
No, vegetables.
Here's a carrot.
Yeah.
He's like, what is that?
I've never seen one before.
But maybe it'll be different. Maybe coming from grandma or grandpa, it would be way different than coming from mom and dad. And I'm like, because my kids, they go over to the in-laws and they'll eat. They eat. They at home, it's like, eat. Seriously, you're not moving from the table until you have at least 3 more bites.
Right.
You start negotiating with them, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, do you think I'd cook something that didn't taste good? And they look at you kind of funny, and they go, well? And I'm like, hello? I know I eat bushes a lot, but, I eat good food, too.
My mom tuned in, too. My dad must have told her something.
Uh-oh.
Love you guys.
I hope that, that's right.
See y'all later.
Yeah.
I'm coming over.
We love all
in.
our parents. We love you guys so much. Y'all are the best things ever. We're not talking bad about you at all.
And all I'm going to say is that when he starts talking like that, I start moving because I think there's lightning.
Uh-oh. Maybe that was a little stronger wind than I realized coming in the door.
This morning, when the door slams and hits you. Man, so right now it's 9:29. This is KHEARadio.com, 99.5 FM. It's Kickstart. Talking with Dr. Aaron Chapa, Jennifer Withy with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center in League City, Texas. And it's almost January. I know there's some really cool stuff coming up with Living Well in the new year, right?
There is. And so some of that, we talk about stress and how to decrease stress emotionally and setting new goals and setting new habits. But there's also things you can do biochemically to enhance your body's ability to deal with and handle stress. And many of us have symptom patterns that we were not genetically born with, which basically means you're dealing with headaches, or you're dealing with a rash, or you're dealing with hormonal challenges, or you're dealing with sleep issues, or you're dealing with some kind of like health concern, challenge, whatever you want to call it, that you weren't dealing with 2-3 years ago, or 5 years ago, or even 20 years ago. And so what we know is that as much as a lot of those things are indeed emotional, and we have had a whirlwind of different stresses this year than we've than we've had to deal with in a long time as a country, as a worldwide body of humans roaming the terrain. The fear of the unknown, the stresses are there. So the question is, and people ask me all the time, like, well, what do you eat for breakfast? Well, if I told you what I ate for breakfast today, I don't really want to tell you because you might not be interested in what we're going to be doing with you. But here's the reality. What I'm doing isn't necessarily what I'm going to ask you to do, because we at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, we build unique programs that are specific to you and your body, because what works for me will not necessarily work for you. And I remember, like Gardy said earlier, like I'm 17 years into or 16 and a half years or whatever into this game of health and wellness at a professional level. I've been making lifestyle choices since I've been 15. No sugar, no caffeine, no sodas, no juice, no this and that. I mean, I started making lifestyle choices at 15 years old. So like my change your habit, change your life game for health started early. And not that I'm perfect by any means, but I'm definitely further down the road than a lot, And so when it comes to what you can start doing, looking forward to the 2021 era, is our Ultimate Detox program. I mean, it is one of the best, fastest ways to launch, into the new year and deburden the body of biochemical waste that you've been stuck with, toting around long enough. And we teach and promote 42 days a year of detoxification. And this year happens to be my 42nd detox. So we're calling 2021 and the 21-day detox the golden detox year. And so we're kind of fired up about it. I mean, 2021,
it's gonna be fun.
and it's the 21 days of detoxification. And for me, it's a golden year as well, because it's in my 42nd one, and I teach that you should be doing 42 detoxes a year. So I didn't plan that.
He's got all the numbers.
But
He's
God,
got all the numbers.
I know,
right?
and I'm not the numbers guy. That's what's even more funny. But somebody else had to tell me the numbers, and they had to remind me, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, know. And so we're just going to roll with it. I mean, God had a plan, I guess, knew that we were going to be here at this juncture of time. And, and I really do. I'm always blown away by how much a detox can change people, because just like what Jennifer was saying, when you start making these lifestyle changes and you get off the ground of taking off on this journey, it's amazing how fast your body turns. It's amazing how fast your body handles stress better.
Why?
And because when you get rid of what your body doesn't need as a burden, your body has bandwidth to tolerate all the more. And so, when COVID started, and I started researching and realizing that, okay, people are treating this like a hurricane. They went and bought all the junk food and stockpiled the wrong foods, and they started eating all the comfort foods. But the problem is the hurricane never ended.
Right.
And so people are still wondering if there's going to be food at the store. They're still buying the wrong foods and junk foods and processed foods. and the joke became, oh, I got the COVID-15, and not the freshman 15, but the COVID-15. It's like, dadgum, we've given a lot of credit to this bug, that we can't even see, and we're still fighting it.
Well, and that's our, to let that be our excuse for an extra 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 pounds.
In a year?
In a year.
Less than a year?
That's not okay.
That's not okay.
That was my excuse. That was my
let's see if we can redirect you.
Okay, thank you.
You know what, I think so many people got lost this year in that, and in the chain, and not only they got lost in the food, they got lost in the caring for each other. We just kind of looked inside, and I hear so many people talking about reflecting on 2020 and going, oh man, I didn't do anything that I should have done for myself, and they're reflecting on it and how we had to make all these changes. And it's funny because for us over at Living Well, like we doubled down, and said, you know what, this is why we're here, and we're going to continue to be here to help people with their health and wellness. And so the people that came on board this year, like, they kind of get it, because they saw the people around them kind of imploding and said, I better do something.
Yeah, and we stayed consistent with our monthly seminar programs, of course, being here at KHEA Radio and sharing, insights every week on just how to live through different, challenges, trying to keep, we tried something different with the themes of nutritional topics. And we're just excited because, education is important, and then finding a tribe of people that you can love and trust, just like we were talking about. If you don't trust the people that you're working with, then you're less likely to take in their inputs. I was talking to a couple friends because I have a tendency to live and breathe by a philosophy that I, take no credit, take no blame. And, a good friend of mine sitting right next to me, kind of helped me realize that I'm pretty good at not taking credit for people's successes, but I have a really bad habit of taking blame for people's failures, as if somehow it's my fault, that you're sick. But it always baffles me when I literally, if you don't know, my feelings on dairy, and you've heard me speak 4 times ever, I've done a really poor job of educating you. Because it's very apparent that I'm against it and don't think that it's healthy, and I speak only from what my practice has shown me. But yet, I'll find people that I've been working with for years still consuming dairy. Well, I can't make people do anything. I can only just lead the horse to water, so to speak. And I had another thought that I wanted to throw out there. I was like, no, frontal lobe should engage and break that one.
Every now and
then.
It
works.
Now and
I
then.
took my supplements, and I took some extra brain support this morning to make sure that the frontal lobe was engaged. And
now I want to know.
And, I know. You probably don't want to know.
Okay. It's okay.
And we're gonna move on.
Let it go.
But here's the thing is we have to be willing to take the information that we're being given from people that we love and trust, and see the tribe for what it is, and then go, okay, this is the change your habit, change your life. This is what I have to do. So if I want to see a better version of myself at the end of 2021, what am I willing to do? What am I able to do? What do I need to do that I don't know how to do, that I can be taught? And this is what we want for people that come and see us, is we want to be your health and wellness resource for all the stuff that's going on in your life. And and Lord knows, we want to be there for everybody at every juncture in time, and I'm trying to figure out what my word is. Is it application? Is it is it reflection? Is it don't blame myself because other people don't want to listen. But I've struggled with, these are my own little battles, that I'm working on and working through, and I'm still being refined. And I think that's some of the adventurous part of growth and development, is the journey here on the human in the human experience, is that we don't stop and arrive at a finish line until we give up the ghost.
Right.
And even then, still, what?
Life's just begun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eternity.
Yeah.
With Jesus. It's good.
I was sharing the other day with some people. I had a bunch of goals at the beginning of 2020, and I don't think I hit one of them, which is funny. But I would say, looking back on 2020, that my word became shift, because I didn't hit the goals that I had set out for, but we crushed it in ways that we didn't even know we were going to, and surpassed, made the goals that we had look like nothing compared to what we accomplished. But I would say 2020 for me and for KHEA was shift. And I think that's important.
You have to be able to shift. You have to be able to adjust. So you're making a plan so that you don't plan to fail, and then recognizing that you may or may not be able to work it out that directly, and know when it's time to shift, when it's time to make those adjustments. And so when the people that are making those adjustments and saying, you know what, I'm not going to let this bug affect me to the point that I can't function and can't be a human and can't be productive, those are the people that are winning, right? Those are the people that are like, oh, it's just 2020. It's just another year, right? And so I look back and I go, man, there really wasn't anything that, things were different, right? But it allowed me to be, respectful of other people's decisions, and to be able to say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do, and be comfortable with what I'm going to do, and let other people be comfortable with what they're going to do, and love them through their decisions to make different decisions than I'm making, and that's okay too. But we've got to give everybody the time and the ability to make their own decisions. And as much as we preach, no dairy, no dairy, no dairy, no dairy. So I've had people come in, they're like, I didn't want to come into the office because I know y'all are gonna tell me that I can't have dairy, and I'm like, well, I mean, what else can we tell you? When we see something over and over and over, I mean, and really, I mean, we probably should be telling people you can have 0 sugar too, and people are like,
yeah, now you've stepped over the line. Okay, hello.
Like, dairy is no big deal, but what about refined white sugar? Like, try taking that out of your diet. Like,
it's impossible.
And so it's really interesting because as well as I do with my diet, like there's little places that creep in. And so when I got my food sensitivity test, sugar shows up, and I'm like, dude, I don't even eat hardly any sugar. And so you just start yanking it out and making sure. And so,
which, I mean, sugar for being a biochemical stress, it's for you. It's a bomb.
Yeah, because
for Rigardi it might be a firecracker, but at the end of the day, we know that consumption, overconsumption, volume for which we're taking in, it carries a pretty big weight,
right.
and we have to be mindful that, sugar, although tastes good, nothing below your taste buds want it, and it is so laden in your food and your spices even that you're buying, and you have to look at everything. And you should, everybody should try literally to just go off of anything. If the label has, either refined sugar, corn syrups, any type of sugar sweetener at all, for 30 days, just see if you can go without it for 2 weeks even.
Well, I
and
think
you'll be shocked at how challenging it is.
If you bake at home and you use things like coconut sugar or maple syrup, right now while we're still in the swing of the holiday season, the biochemical stress is far less on the body, and you still get the sweet taste, right?
Right.
But we're so inundated with that sweet taste that we eat fruit and it doesn't taste sweet to us. Right?
Yeah. How weird is that?
It should taste sweet, and that'll tell you how much sugar that our bodies want.
Yeah. So I was gonna say sometimes sometimes I don't eat that good, guys. But if you have like a really sweet drink and then you eat like a piece of chocolate, y'all probably don't know what I'm talking about. But trust me, if you have, I don't know, let's say you're a slushie and then you eat something afterwards, it's like I'm eating nothing because it's so sweet, and it's just like, man,
the sweet of the slushie overpowered the sweet of whatever you were consuming.
And the thing is that when you do it once, no big deal. When you do it once a day, consistently for 365 days,
it adds up.
For 5 years, and then 10 years, and then 20 years, it starts to add up. And you have to, you have to budget that in if you're going to put it in.
I always find it interesting that, like, the stress that the body carries. We can't see the liver struggling, but yet we can, we don't know what it looks like. So for some people it might be hot flashes, some people might night sweats, some people it might be tossing and turning, waking up at night to pee. I mean, some people may be a rash, some people may be allergies. And that's what's so complicated about the human body is that it's although there's so much symmetry and there's so much non-symmetrical aspects of our bodies, you can't see the inner workings of stress that your body goes through on a day-to-day basis to get your heart to pump 100,000 times a day. To make sure that the neurotransmitters are firing and synapsing in between the brain cells like they're supposed to, and making sure that the feedback loops are in check, and that circadian rhythms are working. You're digesting well in the morning. Your bowels are moving more frequently in the morning, but not to say that they shouldn't move in the evening. You know what I mean? Like, to appreciate that there's energy pathways that are more heightened at certain points in time throughout a 24-hour cycle, and just because you can't see the stress that the body is under trying to make sure that your day goes as smooth as possible, we have to appreciate that 1 year, 5 year, 10-year plan of poor quality choices, unfortunately, ignorance is not always bliss.
And I think
it will bite you in the butt.
I think one of the things, though, that is amazing, because you just glossed right over those check engine lights for the liver, right? The waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, the snoring, the headache, all these things that when the liver is struggling. The reality is that the cool thing is that God made it so that we have all those backup plans. God made our bodies so that we have all those backup plans. And instead of recognizing and appreciating them for what they are as a backup plan, it's a backup plan to wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. That's a backup plan. The liver has too much work to do, calls the kidneys. That's a backup plan. And we're like, well, I don't know. My kid gets up every night. I get up every night. That's just normal. And we
they're validated.
We accept those backup plans as if they were the reality of what should be happening.
Oh, well, you're getting old, so I guess that's okay for you, And
except for they're like 27.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I'm like, dude, these people are getting older very young right now.
Older very young. That's a thought. And so that's the game that we're playing and helping people realize that. I mean, if you've got things happening in your body that aren't making sense to you, you have to question, like, there's always more to the story. So all these people that, have died of COVID, for example, like, I always find when I dig a little, there's always more to the story. They had chronic asthma for years and years and years and years and years, their whole life. Or they were diabetic and they were out of control, I don't want to say foolish diabetics, but foolish diabetics. They just 3 sheets to the wind, didn't take care of anything and weren't willing to make any lifestyle changes. They just accepted the victim, approach. And, and I hope I'm not offending anybody, but I mean, the reality is there's always more to the story. And
I think it goes back to that whole, they didn't plan to fail. They just didn't plan not to. They just didn't plan not to. And so it's not, not to get on that soapbox of people not doing their part, but there's a lot of things that we haven't done our part. And so if
whether
we're
it's our
to,
finances, whether it's our spiritual walk, our marriages, our parental, all
our
of
health
it,
and wellness, and that's
of course
it's
the
just
health.
it's just a piece of
the
of
game.
it. And so I think that's where we start to look at what's really important, right? And loving people and caring for people, so that they can continue to get cared for.
And I think that's always
even
fun,
in the midst of this crazy
is people come
pandemic.
in and they think they don't want to come in because maybe they're afraid of what we might say, or they're worried that we're going to get mad at them. I mean, I'm always like shocked that people think I'm going to get mad.
Yeah, especially.
And I'm like, really?
I wonder if that kind of practice would work. It may work for some people. If they, because people are, I don't know, everyone's different. But if like, hey, you got to get mad at me, doctor, because I don't want to disappoint you and have that.
Yeah, and so if you have too much velvet on the hammer, you don't get anything accomplished either.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like for me, I found that a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So I'd rather work with a person and constantly be driving endocrine pathways, so helping the pituitary hypothalamus communicate better to the thyroid, your metabolic engine, or communicate better to your adrenal glands so that you manage and regulate stress more effectively, or regulate your hormonal ovarian cycle so that, or testicular cycle, to make sure that you're aging gracefully and you're potent for life, right? And so I'd rather sit with a patient and help them, their lymphatics detox better, their liver pathways open up and cleanse, and their bowels move, and all of a sudden I start working on these systems. So we call it systems-based medicine. As we get in and we start working on different systems upon different systems upon different systems, the burdens start falling off, and the person literally starts coming up with ideas that we've been teaching them all along, but now they came up with it on their own conclusion.
But
and
isn't that
I'm like,
the best way,
that's
though?
the best way.
That's the best way,
Yes,
when
absolutely.
they realize it, and so they just come to.
It's just a bummer when it takes them 9 months, But okay, whatever. Sometimes it takes that time.
But that's their time clock.
I know.
You got to let people live on their time clock and do what they are willing and able to do, and
Right.
move them across. And that's why, even if you're not perfect, if you can do better than you did last week. Right. And so sometimes it takes, I have a couple of patients where I'm like, just get in the boat and wrestle with me a little bit. Like, fight me. Tell me you can't do it. Tell me what you can't do so that I can figure out what you can do.
That's right.
And that's what I want you to wrestle with me. Let's figure out what you can do. Because, in the end, none of us get out of this alive.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we're not really.
True.
Health and wellness is a journey. This is just where we are. And we're not going to get out of this alive. So since that's the case, putting your trust in the Lord Jesus, that's your real ticket to health and wellness, long-term health and wellness. That's your real ticket. And so we look at it and we go, what can we do in the meantime? And I may not be able to do 100%. I may not be able to do the Dr. Chapa diet, and the Dr. Chapa diet might not even be good for me. It might not even be good for me. So let's get in the boat, let's wrestle it out, and let's find something that'll work for you so that you can be more consistent with your health and you can control the part that you can, because we can't control all of what comes at us. Like, we're inundated with toxins every day. We are not designed to breathe in car exhaust every day. But I'm not really ready to get rid of my car.
Nope. And the same goes with the cell phones. You know, it's like, I know people that have gotten rid of the Wi-Fi's and got rid of the cell phone, and they only tap into an email or something once, social media, like once a month, you know, just to kind of check it, you know. And I'm just not there yet, you know. And I recognize, I know Wi-Fi is a potential problem for people. I know that it's another invisible burden. Like, I can't see the gas fumes affecting me, but now we know clinically that it affects us. There was a season early in my practice where there was quite a bit of, I think the word scuttlebutt on whether or not they should ban cell phone use, and then found out that they banned cell phone use in children under 13 in parts of Europe. And because of brain tumor rise, you know. And so there's something to these, and the phones even tell you in the warning labels that nobody reads, you know, that these things have
the 45-page document.
Yeah.
Where you're like,
I
just gotta make this thing work.
Yeah, that's right.
Except,
I know.
Yeah, I don't read any of that either. It's like,
I need my 4-year-old to come teach me to use this thing, you know.
Accept terms. Just scroll to the bottom.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Hello. Keep going. And but yet here it is in the fine print that this thing can cause brain tumors, and then we're shocked when a brain tumor shows up, you know. But the problem is people don't. It's so some of these burdens that are going to affect you, just like a program. You know, one program, there's no such thing as a one-size-fit-all program. Isn't right. There isn't one poison that's going to destroy you either. Like, your body may process chemicals way different than mine, and you can seemingly at this point in juncture in time in your life maybe winning, quote unquote, the battle. But one of the things that I've said time and time again is that, you know, you can't outrun a bad diet. You can't outrun a bad lifestyle. Sooner or later, it will catch up to you. And that's what people have to be okay with. You know, hey, whatever your decision is, just understand that there are always consequences, good or bad. And so, you know, I remember my pastor one time goes, you know, remember, practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. You know, because if you practice the wrong habit over and over again for 25 years, we call that what, Withy? Mistake colossal, right? And so we got to make sure that we're not making little blunders over time that turn into colossal, you know, mishaps. And so that I hate the cliche. I mean, this every time this lady would be at our little networking group, she would say, you know, and you remember, people never plan to fail; they just fail to plan. And it took me for like a year to actually understand what she is saying, because she had it down so pat. And so it meant something to her. It didn't mean anything yet to me. But now, you know, I'm 15, 16, 17 years down the road, and I'm thinking, man, like, if I would have saved better in this department, if I would have, you know, budgeted better in this department, you know, with my time, or if I would have done a better job of reflecting every year, you know, I oftentimes lose my goal list and get lucky if I find it the next year, you know. And I'm real good at writing them out, but sometimes not so good at reviewing them and making sure that I hit marks, or, like you discovered, shifted your focus, because, you know, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. So, like, we write out our goals in sand, trusting that the Lord may have a different path for us, but he wants us to be engaged in the process and not just be innocent bystanders on the sideline, you know, twiddling our thumbs, wondering, you know, when we get to play. No, you're playing right now. If you hear my words, you're playing. If you get to choose how you started your morning. You get to choose.
There's no dress rehearsal.
No, this is live, man, and we're just rolling with it. And that's why we like to come in on the show and handling all your questions and giving you guys an opportunity to get some help throughout the week, encouragement throughout the week, so that you can continue on your health and wellness journey, because it is just that. It's a journey, and we want it to be the most amazing, adventurous, exciting journey possible. And we want you to be winning more often than you're losing. And yeah, dude, you're going to get sick every now and again. I mean, like, to think that to trophy health as to never, ever, ever come down with a symptom is really not realistic, because
it's really about how your body handles the symptom when you get it, right? Like, that's what we're looking for. How is my body going to handle it when I come against it? Right? Because it's coming. Whether, no matter what it is, it's going to come against you. How's my body going to handle it when I put that little bit of sugar in? How's my body going to handle it when I go, watch airplane exhaust, and when I get in an airplane and I'm exposed to radiation? How's my body going to handle it? Am I going to be able to do those things and get away with it for a little while so that I can have the benefit of going on a vacation or doing something that I want to do, right? If our body can handle it so that we can do those things, there's a trade-off, right? We pay a price a little bit each time that come into contact with toxic burdens, and we come into contact with them every day. How's your body going to handle it when allergy season comes around? Is it going to be 3 rounds of antibiotics this year, or is it going to be
I pray
none?
not.
Right? And so can you get through it? And so we keep working on things so that our body can get through those toxic burdens.
And I oftentimes find that when, people come in and maybe they're not getting everything that they want out of their care plan, they're getting more out of their care plan than they realize. Because the people that, stop showing up, and then I see them out in the world 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 15 months later, they've gained weight. They don't look as healthy. Their skin is not as radiant. And sometimes, again, being close to the campfire just keeps you warm enough to keep things moving forward, because you're allowing your body the time to unravel the mysteries of challenge that you're carrying. And every one of us is carrying some sort of genetic glitch. We're carrying some sort of biological glitch. We're carrying a toxic burden. We've got food allergies. We got digestive challenges. We are all carrying some load. And to Jennifer's point, how well is your body handling that load? That is the picture of health. And yeah, you might have some symptoms, but how many symptoms would you have had you not been actively working the game, actively pressing in, even frustrated? It's okay. That's why Jennifer said it's okay. Like get in the boat and wrestle with us. And it's okay. Like, tell us how you feel. Let's work through it. Because if you quit, I always say, what are you quitting to? I mean, you're going to quit to drugs and surgeries? That's barbaric. That's not the answer. But at the end of the day, sometimes we lose a battle here or there. But does that mean you lost the overall health war? No. It just means that there's still things in your lifestyle that set you up to not handle an infectious burden right, or to not allow your body to process trash through, and it built up in an area, and that area got really infected beyond our intervention. And that's never fun, by the way. But that stuff happens, I think.
But I think that's where the medicine, the drugs and surgery can come in when things have reached that point. And the question is what are you going to do to make it so that there'll be less of those points, right? And we're all going to have points in time where things
we have to make hard decisions.
We have to make hard decisions, and that's okay. And we're okay with that. But then you go, well, what are we going to do? Say you have to have the surgery. Say it comes down to it. What are you going to do after that
to make sure you don't have any more surgeries? To make sure that you
recover from that surgery well.
Yes.
Right? Because we know that the body works on nutrients. That's the whole game. It works on nutrients. We're supposed to eat the food that was grown in the garden from the beginning of time, right? That's what we're supposed to put in our body, and that's what's supposed to fuel the body. And we've changed, and we've put all these chemicals in so that we can keep food on the shelf for weeks and weeks and months on end. And you have to question whether that's still food at that point. Mm-hmm. If I can keep it on the shelf for months on end, is it still food? Does it still have the enzymes my body needs to process it? Does it still have the nutrient density? Does it still have, when they take nutrients out of wheat, for instance, when they're making bread to go on your grocery store shelf, Like, we're mandated by law that we have to spray synthetic vitamins back on. That's like, we know it's not good to take the nutrients out, so much so that we put them back in, but we put them back in a chemically created laboratory version. And I just don't
we call that okay.
Well, and I just don't believe that those nutrients work quite the same way. And so, I'm looking at those. I just don't think if we chemically produced it in a laboratory, it's the same as what we can get straight from the ground.
Yeah, my wife was talking about that with baby food. So our son, he's 9 months old, and she's like, it says organic on it, but it's like you don't have to refrigerate it, and you look at the date, and it'll last forever. It doesn't really seem right.
And that's way to be thinking. Remember earlier we started, you don't have to use your brain. Well, no. Whoa. You do. You have to think. You have to rationalize, those types of little things. Just because it has an expiration date for 16 years doesn't mean that, it's going to taste too good 16 years. Now, that's all you got. Yeah. And you're in a, you know what I mean? That's pretty cool. Technology allows that. I like technology, but remember, technology comes at a price. At some level, it does come at a price. And so I know we're wrapping up, and I just, we want to encourage you that no matter the biochemical stress, the physical stress, the mental stress that you're carrying, Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center has an answer to help you move forward and get you further down the line than you are right now. And we want to be a voice of encouragement. We want to be a voice of resource so that you can make 2021 better than the results you got in 2020. Not that you didn't get the results that you wanted, that you're still in process, that you can appreciate the journey, and that you can fall in love with the adventure that is to come. Because at the end of the day, as much as we all want to live in the Garden of Eden with no issues, it's not realistic. So make sure that you're actively playing every day, that you're actively working at living better, being better, and staying better, one bite at a time, one time steward nugget at a time, one financial tracking moment at a time. Whatever your health goals and 2021 goals are, write them down. Share them with a body of people that you trust that will appreciate your the accountability, and be open when they do hold you accountable to receive it and not take offense to it. And let's have an amazing happy New Year. Let's bring it in with prayer, praying without ceasing. I think you guys got a cool event this coming Thursday night.
It's a Thursday starting at 9 o'clock. You are invited to Abundant Life for our New Year's Eve service. So I remember being a kid. Actually, I would have been 10, turning 11. That was my first time to come to Abundant Life as a kid. My mom was like, she had went to a December service, was like, oh, you got to come. So I'm a kid, 10 years old, this 1996, or I don't know when it was, right? Or it was 95 into 96 or 96, into 97. My first time in Abundant Life. I walk in and I was like, okay, these chairs are kind of cool, whatever. And then I remember, in all transparency, I was like, man, the music's kind of loud. Now I'm part of the band, like producing the loud music. And then I was like, man, this service is kind of taking a long time.
And now it just flies.
Now it just flies by. But that was my first time to come to Abundant Life. Yeah, 96 into 97 as I was 10.
That's awesome. Let's see. Look at that little reflection, Gardy. So guys, y'all have a blessed and wonderful new year. Visit us at www.justlivewell.com. Get ready for the ultimate detox coming up January 11th. And we are excited to share that with you guys. We want you guys to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you can live better, be better, and stay better one bite at a time. So if you're dealing with challenges in your body, give us a call, 281-554-8600, and continue to listen to the show. We're looking forward to an amazing 2021 with you.
This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. It's Kickstart. Dr. Chapa and Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center is in every Tuesday, and maybe we'll get Jennifer with you in the new year as well. Or maybe Molly will be allowed to come back.
I can to twist around.
All right. It's KHEA 99.5. All right, Facebook, social media, y'all be blessed. Have a good rest of the day, and then I guess I'll see y'all in